whatever kind of local. There's a zillion of them, but the difference is moving from being in the pros to Little League.
What's up?
Hey, Mr. Josh, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Greetings from Seattle.
Hey, there you go.
Good.
In Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Drinking my coffee.
There you go. Well, I appreciate you jumping on, man. Like I said, it was funny
happy
that
to help.
I've been diving into this local service business agency world, and your name kept coming up, and I was like, I feel like I've been friends with this guy on Facebook for like a decade, and I never connected the dots. So it was kind of a random. Obviously I've seen you and seen all your marketing stuff, but I never connected the relationship to like the local service business side or that type of agency side, I guess.
Well, that's intentional because I power a lot of these guys. I'm behind the scenes and coach a lot of them.
Too funny. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense now. Now I feel like all the stars connected. I'm like, oh, now this makes sense. Now I get it.
Yeah. Now you see what's actually going on. There's a lot of nonsense, as you know, with the middlemen.
That's what I'm finding. And, I'm kind of in this, I've got two things going on here. And, you certainly tell me what is in line with, with what you can advise on and what you cannot. So, number one is all the tactical stuff. So like I've done all this homework and I've got pretty much this whole list of all the white label guys and who's running what and all that. And the 30,000 foot view is I've been doing e-com and SEO and traffic since 2003. I've had multiple exits. I've certainly not made the most money. I'm certainly not the smartest guy, but I've done enough to where I don't need to work anymore. I'm done. This is all for fun and whatever. My last two exits were about 30 million. Wow. So now I've got a staff, I've got a team, anything else that happens in life is about them, right? It's like, I want them. They won big with me on my last ones, but I didn't give anybody millions, right? I was a sole owner. Everyone made big six figures for their first, it was their first hurrah.
Yeah.
But now I'm kind of like, all right, guys, I've been doing this 20 years. You guys, the guys have been with me for a handful of years. You guys all did great, changed all your lives. I want to do it again, and doing it again, would be for you guys. This can be your guys' changer. So my motivation's coming from there. Having said that, our background's in e-commerce. I have an e-commerce brand that is launched and I think is going to be exactly what I just described. I think that's going to take care of all of us.
Okay.
It's expensive. E-com is not cheap anymore. My payroll's high, all that.
Yeah.
And it's, it's going to take a little while to get us into profit, but that's where the focus is. Now, this brings me to the other half of my life for the last 20 years, where every other conversation I have, every other networking thing I go to is all in that agency marketing world.
Yep.
I make no money on it. I've been turning down agency clients for 21 years. I've never been an agency, but I get the conversations, I get the leads, I get the business, I get the networking, I get the phone calls before the people are hired. I am an agency that I just don't make no money on it. And so this has brought me in the last little while that a buddy of mine has been building a SEO content software similar to a search atlas.
Okay.
But no money behind it. It's kind of like the old trusty Ford F-150 compared to like the Ferrari of search atlas. Now, I've used search atlas and it's broken every site that I put it on, so I don't like it. I don't like it anymore.
They're not a Ferrari. I know Manic, he's a good salesperson and all that, but I'm a data person. The data doesn't
work well. Doesn't work well. So anyways,
people who don't know any better will buy it.
Correct.
I get it.
Correct. And I learned that after like 5 days.
Yeah.
But this is what entered me into this conversation. So I've been helping my buddy with this software. It's been working great. I've been testing it on some WordPress sites and Shopify sites. They've been ranking. It's been a year now, no problems. Again, there's no money behind it. It's pretty basic, but it works and it's good and it's not broken anything. So you put all this together, all this context, I'm getting closer. The software is pretty much done. And I'm finding myself in this place in life where I'm going, like, I've been funding everything forever. And I'm like, man, I really wish I had a second stream of income just in general, just in general. I make no money other than e-com, but I'm the one paying for it. So technically speaking, I make no money, right? Until this e-com goes off again.
Right.
So I've got this software going on. My brain is telling me that I want like a second stream of income. even if it just covered payroll, my payroll's like 40, 50K. If it just covered payroll, I'm fine. That leads me to, well, if I was going to do an agency, what do I think the best agency would be? That led me to like a local service space. That's where all of my that's where all the rest of my life is, right? All of my other conversations in life are of people that would be in that category, right?
Yep.
There are people that would spend, $1,000 to $5,000 a month on anything I tell them they would do, but they could only afford that range. I got my e-com life, and those guys are all $50 to $100 million, and then the rest of my life is those guys. And so I'm like, okay, well, if I did an agency,
totally different game.
Yeah, totally different game.
Yeah.
So I said, if I was going to do an agency, I would do that. So then that led me down this whole, well, if I'm going to do that, I don't want to do the labor. So then we get into white label stuff. So that had all do this homework. I'm learning all these softwares. I'm finding partners. Right. I'm looking who's the best SEO white labeler, who's the best that. I start finding Vendasta. That's where you kicked in, because I started scouring the internet for Vendasta keywords, and you kept coming up. And I'm like, wait a minute, I've been friends with this guy on Facebook for like 10 years or whatever. I didn't know he was in this world. That's what they use. So where I'm at today is two things. The tactical side of that local service base, or that type of agency model, and kind of like who's the best, who's who, what's your advice there? But then secondly, if you operate in this way, am I stupid for even thinking about this? Should I not even be messing with this? Because is this an industry that is more of a racket than it is worth it? And I'm caught between and all that and saying, I'll shut up now, is I could totally build one of these. I could totally scale it. I got the money to do it. We got a cool brand. I've got an in-house team that can build anything, but I would definitely need like an operator to really do day to day. But am I dumb am I wasting my time even trying to mess with an agency when I'm on an e-com side? Am I barking up the wrong tree? And if I'm not, then I'd say, then I've got some tactical questions on, who in the industry, what kind of services do you offer? Am I looking down the right rabbit holes here in terms of 51 blocks, this and that, yada, yada.
Yeah. Okay. So let me give you some context, Josh. You, like I, have made money on the bigger deals, e-com, marketing software, like the content software thing that your Ford F-150. So I've made money in large chunks, and everyone I know generally has made money that way, because you sell to Google. I've advised a lot of companies that have IPO'd or been bought by someone else, and then it's a lottery ticket. It's like a VC thing, like 1 in 10 of them work out, because
that's exactly what I had. My stars aligned a couple times, and I got a couple big pops.
Yep. And you understand that the dynamic range for e-com or other sorts of businesses is 0 to huge numbers. And that's why it's a lottery ticket. But the dynamic in local, as you know, and we all have tons of friends that are plumbers and dentists and real estate agents so if you want to win in local, if you or I were to focus on any one, I have so many friends. In a couple hours, I'm talking to a friend who's, I think he was paying like 15 grand a week for marketing services from this other agency. He's a dentist, and obviously it's a disaster. And every time I do these audits, they're disasters, right? And that's the level of competency is so bad, Josh. It's basically fraudulent. It's so bad.
That's what I'm finding when I'm talking to some of these guys.
It's not because, and then people will say, because you can name all the people I've coached in their groups, and I mentor a lot of these people. So I do have to be a little careful about some of these things that I say, because
I'm sure we have a ton of. It looks like we have mutual friends.
Yeah, so I don't want to name drop, but anyone that does stuff in local marketing or digital, we're doing something in some way. But they'll say, their retort is, well, that's because you are a perfectionist and you operate at this expert 0.1% of the 0.1% level of skill, which is what you expect. But that's what they say to me, but that's not true.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm just blind, right? But my buddy Larry Kim built the largest PPC agency ever at 2% of Google's global ad spend and 2% of Facebook's global ad spend, WordStream. And he sold it for a lot of money. And now he's doing these other marketing software things, right? And he told me the same thing. But just to give you an example, and then I want to go back to sort of the main points and then how this fits into what you're doing to, to
Yeah.
generate the cash
I'm tracking you though.
cover the cash of what you want to do and that how it fits into like I'm taking an indirect way to answer your question, but I think it gives you context.
Yeah, I follow.
So when Larry was growing his thing to, multi-billion in spend per year, we had lunch in Boston and he said, Dennis, do you know what percent of my clients, thousands and thousands of these small businesses, all of them spending like $1,000 a month, basically, like nothing, right? You know what percent of my clients have conversion tracking? Like what do you think it is? What percent?
Yeah, none. Probably
almost none.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 20%, right?
Yep.
So I said, okay, so that means 80%, and this is, we're pretty sophisticated when it comes to Google ads and like, and there's always more things that you could do, but we're pretty sophisticated.
Yeah.
And he said, but that's because it's either that or nothing for them.
Totally.
And that just blew my mind because like it's like you're driving down the freeway and you're in this in between area and like the only place to eat is a McDonald's.
Yep.
And is it that or nothing?
Yep.
And then his approach to building software, because he's exited several companies for a lot of money. I've built some fancy software built for people like me that want to use it. It has the features that I want, right? And he showed me his stuff and said, we'll roll out these amazing features. We'll test them. They're great for people like you that want to use them, but we don't include it in general release because if more than 10% of people don't know how to use it or get confused, we don't do it.
Totally.
Because it creates software bloat. And that's what happens with software is you bloat the thing by adding more and more stuff to it. So as it relates to local, you could blame the Dan Henrys of the world and whatever for and he's a buddy of mine too. So for making it look like it's internet money that's easy. All the internet bros think it's easy. So the whole place in the last 15 years has been flooded with these local agencies. I mean, social media influencer, PR, whatever, but especially now in local.
Totally.
The biggest one I blame on this in a good way is Josh Nelson. Josh Nelson runs the seven-figure agency, and he wrote the book, and he does have a good process, and what he's teaching is actually solid. But what happens is, and I've spoken to this thing many times, what happens is people say, "Look at all these guys that are," it's like become a term, seven-figure agency.
Yeah, he's got 140 guys out of the thousands that have made more than $1 million.
I think it's like 250 now. It's 300. It's bigger.
Okay, yeah, whatever.
He's in the last year, it's just gone hockey stick. And I've coached and audited a lot of them. Their results are almost uniformly terrible.
Yeah.
Not even just like bad, but like
the actual
results.
The actual results for the clients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll come in, we'll audit the ad account, we'll audit the SEO, we'll audit, nothing has been done. And they're charging $5,000 a month.
These guys they're not getting any phone calls. They sign up for one of these programs. They get 2 or 3 calls and it's, that's what I'm paying for. But in reality, the optimization is awful.
The reality is these small businesses don't understand where the ROI is coming from.
Yeah.
So when there's any kind of increase in phone calls or phone calls at all that are coming from their Google My Business, from their technicians or whatever getting reviews, that's what's driving it. It's not the website. It's not the PPC. Yeah. It's the fact that you actually do good work and Google recognizes that and you show up in the maps.
Yeah, it's essentially the same kind of bloat that you're describing.
Yeah, but not the local Falcon where you choose some niche keyword and it has green dots around the map. You know what I'm talking about? There's all these tools that offer that.
Yep.
That's another way to lie to these clients.
Yep.
So the thing that actually works, Josh, is when you choose one vertical.
Yep.
Like plumbers or pool builders or concrete coating companies, and you work with the leader in that industry. And I know all the guys who are at the top, so I'm happy to make introductions for you because everyone's so incompetent. It's just so bad.
Yep.
And then you demonstrate, like my buddy Marco, he does concrete coating companies.
Yep.
So that's, polished concrete floors, decorative, metallic floors. And he's also a money bro, but he actually knows how to run ads. So his last agency, he scaled to 3.5 million ARR with 140 clients paying $1,500, $2,000 a month, something like that. And all he does, and some people have tried to hate on him, but all he does is take the same Facebook ads and just basically copy paste them each time over and over again. And I see nothing wrong with that because it works, because we know, the leads are $30, $40, the appointment's like $70, the cost per New client is like 170 to 180. That's a 10 to 1 ROAS. It works out. They don't track in the CRM or whatever it is because there's so many different CRMs. But he just does the Facebook ads thing and it works really well. And that's the niche industry where, if you like anyone basically below 5 million a year in a local agency, you do the one service for the one kind of client and you have one package.
Yep.
And then you get into like guys who do personal injury or franchise with multi-location. And then you can start doing $5,000, $10,000 packages, but then there's more complication to that. And then above that, you have, like Eric Huberman of Hawk Media, these guys that are doing more than a couple hundred million a year, but then they're doing big agency pitch, Fortune 500, account managers that give you tickets to the sports games, like all that, because now they're charging $20,000 a month. And then they're dealing with e-com, not dealing with mom and pop local where one chiropractor is the same as any other chiropractor, and you replicate those replicate the Google ad campaigns, like the main thing for you, Josh, if you want to do something in local is I really recommend starting with PPC in an LSA category. Yeah. Why? Because Google has expanded LSA, LSA, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and they've gone into medical. They've added like 10 more medical in the last year. They had no medical 2 years ago. Dentist is the biggest category, and like if you literally help folks in one vertical implement LSA, which is not hard, and it's just an extension of GMB or GBP now it's called. If you just literally do that, and there's some lightweight account management, and you have a figurehead, there's no need for salespeople. That eliminates 30% of your costs right there, and all the inefficiencies of all the promises the salespeople make to try to get the commission, and then you have churn, right? And then you build a good reputation, and you can scale that thing pretty easily. And to get an extra 30 or 40 in margin per month. I mean, most agencies are running 20% if they're doing okay. If you don't have the sales costs, like exhibiting booths and salespeople with commissions and all that, I think if you did 150,000 a month, which would be like, depending on what vertical and what the price range is, but 100 clients paying 1,500, which is very modest, just so you can set up some Google and Facebook ads in LSA category clients for companies that are doing at least $50,000 a month. You don't want to take guys that are too small because then they're like, it's a headache and that whole thing. Then that's a good agency that does well. You can be proud of the results. You're not like the internet bros where you're out there selling, or doing all the cold DMs through the software that automates all that nonsense. And I think these guys, I mean, I've been saying it for a while, but now, Lance Bachman and Josh and these other guys are agreeing that AI is going to crush these guys in the next couple of years. The digital, Perry Marshall agrees with me. These guys are the walking dead. AI is going to eat their lunch. The AI that's being done by the networks themselves, the AI that does the agent stuff, doing the work. Agents, the digital market, Lance Bachman had the biggest SEO agency. He sold it and he bought roofing companies. Now he's just buying and selling roofing companies. What does that tell you? Yeah. So it's like, if you came to me, Josh, and you said, I want to be an Uber driver. I'm like, the self-driving cars are coming, right?
Yeah.
They're coming. It's just a matter of time.
Totally.
So you coming to the agency space, like I get it. You want to take care of your team so then they can have their exit and, they're make some money. But I'm thinking like, why would you do local unless you had an advantage or some kind of differentiation not because of the software.
Yeah. And it's like the only thing you tell yourself, or I tell myself, is because I have my intelligence, but it's also my intelligence that's also got me going, am I an idiot? Like, what am I doing? I don't know. No,
it's literally as simple as you think.
Yeah.
That's what I said when I told you Occam's razor yesterday.
Yeah.
These people are really as incompetent as, and so, I feel like it's the shell game, like which the ball is under which thing, it's a scam, right?
Yep.
That thing. So all these white label guys, if the promise is too good, it can't be true, right? So
that's what I saw. That's what I saw with Vendasta. I was like, oh, this is crazy, dude. This is
But it's not just Vendasta. It's all of them. All the guys out there.
Is 51 Blocks like that too?
They're all that way.
Yeah.
Because what they do is they cater to the lazy entrepreneur who's like, well, all I have to do is bring in the deals and then I never have to worry again about executing and operations because I've got my team. Because that's, they They think so. They're catering to people who believe. This is why this whole thing is a Ponzi, which I can't say publicly because I'll piss off so many people. But
Yeah. I
the
get
the
it.
people the people that the people that like that song, Josh, they are of a sales mindset and they believe the problem is selling, convincing these small businesses because they say, you know what, all these agencies, they look the same and sound the same. How do I stand out? Then I need to use like better software to close or better webinars or run more Facebook ads or have better fulfillment or have cheaper VAs. Right? Like, no, you guys are complete idiots. Anyone who believes that is an idiot. The real
Yeah.
issue is you need to, if you deliver the result, you don't have churn. All those guys, Josh, have 30% churn,
Crazy churn. Yeah.
monthly churn, 30% monthly churn. That means the client doesn't even last for 3 months. Then what do they think? They think the answer is we need more clients. We need to pour more water into the sieve. And so then they go and look at the third. Now they're looking at all the white label people. They're looking at the, done for you closers, all of that kind of lazy button. Do you remember, Josh? You know the e-com stuff where, you could pay 10 grand and it would be, someone would spin up an e-com site for you and you could make millions potentially. Because if eBay and Amazon are making, it's the same bullshit.
Yep.
So you were too smart to fall for that. That's why you're contacting me. You're like, hey, this smells like bullshit, is it? And I said, yes.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, you might have put the nail in my coffin in a good way.
I don't mean to like piss on your thing, but I'm trying to give you the truth.
I paid that $1,500 so quick because I'm like, listen, dude, my reasons for wanting more are selfless, right? It's because I can, like the next ecom brand, it's going to, I'm already $500,000 into it. It's probably going to be another 300 grand. I'm not going to make money probably until 26 realistically, for myself. I think we could do like 3 to 5 this year, 10 plus next year. And that's the big money, those are the bigger exits. That's the bigger money. I've already got retailers, but it's going to be a year or two. And so my brain selflessly is like, man, if I had something else that ran beside us, there's other entrepreneurs I know in ecom that they've got their ecom brand and they've got an agency on the side. And, you're kind of wishful thinking and everybody, I know Dan well as well. And the guys that I'm friends with in that crew are like, we'll do a course. And my problem is I struggle like being the guy. I don't want to go put a course out really. Like maybe after another win, then am I confident where it was? But and everyone tells me I'm crazy. On my last one, again, almost 30 million. And I'm like, I still don't feel like I should be selling a course yet. Like, you
have the expertise, you have the experience, you have the cred, multiple exits, 30 million plus. So you actually have the real, you have the real meat and potatoes.
Yes. I just struggle to be that guy.
But the trouble is that the course sellers, I have the same problem. The course sellers, you kind of have to hype a little bit because the majority of the people who will buy the course are never going to follow through and put in the effort.
Correct.
So you have to promise that you're going to get a 6-pack in 90 days and all like, that's not true.
Correct.
Right? Well, look at me. I have a 6-pack. Yeah. So you don't want to be that because inherently there's like this ethical conflict and these money bros, they like Dan and I, we were in Dubai a few months ago. And he rented a $500,000 Rolls Royce for us to go drive over the Maidan Bridge. And we actually made fun of all the money bros.
I saw that.
Look at Mike's. You see, okay. So you've seen the stuff that we've done.
Yeah.
And we did it because we're making fun of these people. And he even said like, and just because you can see this car and all this, you're going to buy my course without even questioning what my credibility or whether you can actually succeed or whether it'll work for you. Or what are the necessary ingredients to be able to, like a recipe, like a chef to do the thing, but you're just going to buy because that's how you buy. And you've already bought 4 or 5 other ones. So why wouldn't you buy this one?
Yep.
And that's how all the Dan made his 42 million in the last 3 years or whatever off of high ticket. All of it's off of high ticket. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Josh, but you don't strike me as the high ticket, run to the back of the room, buy now kind of guy.
To be honest, I started my career in 2003.
Okay.
And did really well. I had hotel rooms filled up in 03 to 06, with hundreds of people run to the back of the room and sign up. Yeah. And I was doing events with Marshall Silver. And so, when I was young, I was 20 doing pitching the dream, knowing I didn't know at the time that I was like ethically being goofy because I was young and was
Right.
making a ton of money. But I did early, and that I think that's my, not many people would get it. You get it because you know what we're talking about. But it was like that was one of
Yeah, yeah,
my
yeah.
secrets to my success was at 22, I learned that lesson. I learned the ethics lesson. I learned the hype
Yeah,
man lesson. I learned the
yeah,
lesson of that, and it
yeah,
changed me forever. And I struggle to go back, even though I think I would do a good job. I think I could put out good info, but I
yeah, yeah,
mentally and egotistically can't go back, which is why, the trade-off I made was I've had a lot of success and I've sold
yeah,
5 companies and the last 2 were good ones, but nobody
yeah,
knows me. I'm friends with a lot of people, that you're friends with, it looks like,
yeah,
but I'm an
yeah.
unknown. I'm an unknown guy in that
Can you
club.
do me a favor, Josh?
Yeah.
So people in your situation, well, this is like a Groundhog Day for me because it's, I've been around a lot. I'm a lot older than I look. They will typically, they've had a couple exits. They're not known. They will typically then buy a high ticket program to get their book published
Oh,
or do
sure.
some personal branding or do some speaking or that kind of thing. Just promise me you won't do that.
I won't and I haven't
There's
at
other ways
all.
to do it. There's ways you can do it, but just don't do.
No.
I know the people that sell the high ticket things that would be kind of appealing for your situation.
Yeah.
I know how it's done. I know like how the hot dogs are made. Don't buy that package. If you want to do it, I'll help you do it, but just don't buy
No.
that package. Okay.
I love ecom, and that's where again it's just the
Okay.
mental side of this was just like, man, dude, I have no, and part of this is again it's like more personal philosophical of like this
Right.
we have the new business up again. It's going to be a year or so till it goes. Like
Yeah.
I did 100 grand in month 3 with this new brand.
Yeah.
So like in
Yeah.
90 days, I'm at 6 figures a month, and it'll go. I'm happy about that,
Yeah.
but it's the mental struggle of like I still feel like I'm missing enterprise myself or like agency, not in the traditional sense of the word of like nobody knows Josh Delaney, and I don't want them to
Yeah.
necessarily, but my
Right.
own
Right.
life, I clock out of one thing and I stand in a room and go, I have no other agency. I have no other,
Yeah.
I have nothing else. And my fear
Yeah.
is I am only maximizing like one part of my life in
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
And I'm leaving, the cliches. I'm leaving money on the table. I'm doing this, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to be the guy. I don't want to be the high ticket. So that's again,
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is what made me go to like a service industry maybe, or like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't, but that was kind of how I got
Yeah.
there was, what
Okay.
does that look like if it's not a course and it's not a native? Maybe it's just
Okay.
e-commerce and I got to come off my
Well,
needing something else. I don't know.
I mean, I'm basically just giving you negatives, but I want to give you some positives now. So, Josh Snow.
Very good. Very well.
Okay. So
Yeah,
you
we're
saw
buddies.
he's scaled several of these things and he's done some
Yep.
coaching
Yeah,
to help these other e-com guys.
I've spoke at a bunch of his stuff before. We're buddies.
Okay. Okay. So that's like a way of giving back and helping other people and networking because you've done the thing in e-com, so you can help other people do that thing, just like Colin Wayne or other people that have done that, right?
Yep, I'm good.
Number
I used to
two,
live in Colin Wayne. Me and him used to live in the same town in Huntsville, Alabama. It was a buddy.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Go
I
ahead.
saw him. It was great. Anyway, I can tell you stories about him, and then of course the latest thing that's going on with the lawsuits and all that.
Yep. Yep.
But
Yep.
another thing, because you told me the thing was giving back to your staff. You're doing this selflessly for your staff because you don't need the money, or you probably don't have some crazy private jet lifestyle or whatnot. And you also have a lot of friends that are local service business owners. And so it's like, at least for me, I just help out a lot of friends where they're a roofer or whatever, just because of the bullshit. I'm not doing it for money. I'm just to like help them out, because I just feel really bad about all the nonsense that's occurring.
Totally.
And so, Josh, if you had a young adult who could be the operator of this local service business, and then that person follows our framework, which I'll just give you, and we have a lot of young adults that are doing this, then you could basically send any of your friends, no need to sell or whatever. Like the emergency room has no salespeople, right? Because people have to come into the emergency. The emergency room surgeons don't go out and knock on doors and make promises.
Yeah.
50% off heart surgery, Josh, if you get it right now today. There's none
Yeah.
of that, okay?
Yep.
And it literally just implements some very basic things like LSA, fix the website, launch some Facebook ads if that's a category that we know works for Facebook ads. And that's a very handy 7-figure agency that you can stand on the results because it's not based on sales bros that are selling. Ideally, it's in a particular vertical. So there's a trade-off. If you want to scale the right way and quickly get to 100 clients, which will be you generate 30 or 40 a month of net, then you need to choose one thing, like choose landscapers or choose like chiropractors or what. And we all know each other. Like I know the agencies that are in each of the categories, and it's not like they're competitors. Like there's so many agencies for plumbers, so many for HVAC. I mean, just it's not like it's too late on any of them. Like well, even for personal injury, which is the most competitive one, there's a bunch of egos there. But like I feel like local
medical space of like I've got a big med spa network. But those are always
med spa,
the hardest like keywords to get and stuff because of all the regulation.
They are from the SEO side, but when you go down into the subcategories, Juvederm and Botox and facial and city names, so those geo category combos, that's really easy. The keyword difficulty in all those terms are less than 10, but I mean, you'll get that for them. But the trouble is these med spa, these 50-year-old women that run med spas are basically Botoxed up. They have that look, right? Like I went to Am Spa the last couple of years and spoke there and that whole thing. Yeah. And so they don't understand or have the patience for SEO. So you've got to run PPC for them and Facebook ads. And my favorite thing for med spas is Groupon. So the 10 units of Botox for $100. Now the complaint is this drives in all the people that are cheapos and just want the cheap stuff. But if you have good estheticians and a good like nurse practitioner or whatever you want to call the person that talks to them about their health situation, they can sell them into. So almost all the med spas, are offering functional medicine in different ways. They're selling supplements. They're doing IV therapy. They're doing cold plunge. They're partnering with massage. They're not just doing, the one thing.
Yeah.
So the LTV increases when you have some kind of, health coordinator who basically a salesperson. But this woman looks so good and all that and talks so well and acts the part at the med spa that if you have that woman there, then running Groupon, running PPC works because you can afford the stupid high cost per click that goes up every year because your LTV is high enough. But when we look at the point of sales that these guys are using, they're normally pieces of shit. And they can't track where the marketing comes from, or their marketing comes, oh, how do you hear about us? Well, the front desk never fills that shit out. Yeah. And we've worked with the major, EHRs and CRMs on this. And like even freaking HubSpot doesn't have a HIPAA on their med stuff, right? Yep. And people don't even know what legit script is or, advertising on the. Yeah. So the medical, I think my favorite, Josh, is medical and local.
Yeah. Dentists, doctors, surgeons, all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, because there's certifications, it's high ticket. These people are more likely to understand when you try to explain to them how digital marketing works. But sometimes they're too smart. Like the doctors and lawyers sometimes are too smart for their own, because then they want to tell you and they start asking too many questions. And there's the other side of that. But I'd prefer the more intelligent, sophisticated client who understands that your time is valuable. And there's a process to this, and they understand procedure by definition if they're in medical, right? I wouldn't touch attorneys just because there's too many egos there, but medical, like I think Google has 12 categories now in LSA for medical.
And when you say categories, like the ones they'll allow on there as a service, they've like approved it as a service.
So LSA with Google Guaranteed, Google Verified, right?
Yeah.
We call that position 0 because technically it's part of Google Ads, but it's above at the top.
Yeah.
And then you have to submit your certifications and that whole thing like that. Yeah. That I think is that's the, I don't want to say arbitrage or easy, but that's the, if I were you and based on the things that you told me, I would start a medical agency serving just either one category within LSA or multiple health categories. Medical LSA is so good. It's so easy if you qualify. You don't just take any random because most med spas, their finances are upside down.
Yeah.
That's why there's four firms that do the roll up there, you know?
My wife was this year in 24. She was the number one cosmetic rep in the country. She works for Evolus, which sells Jeuveau. So she was number one rep in the country last year. That's where I got this big. And so I'll travel around and speak at a lot of their stuff. So I've got this network there, which is where it interests. But I'll say this, two things. One, you said having a while ago, you said, having someone that really operated day to day. I feel like that if I did this, that would have to happen. So yes.
If you did that and then you hired your own VAs, we have a process for doing that. I don't recommend VA staffing companies. I don't recommend white label agencies. I'll just cut right to the punch on that. You could try it just for fun to see what happens.
So then who would run the LSA and the PPCs? Let's say if I did that, do you not use a provider for that?
I don't say this publicly. We have our own people do it. But if you set up PPC properly, this is not like e-com, okay? This is freaking junior varsity.
Yeah.
When you set up things properly, it's 5 minutes of maintenance per month.
Yeah.
You can have one guy in charge of 100 accounts if they were set up properly.
Yeah.
And then someone to do some account management. Oh, hi, doctor, how, whatever. They do the small talk about your weekend and show the results. And, quick little report every week. We like to send out the weekly reports every Friday across all our agencies. But yeah, you basically you'd start with that one operator. And of course, they would have to know enough to be dangerous because they have to have diagnostic skills, not sales skills. Yeah, they have to look at the data, which is not hard. Look at how we do audits. I've published hundreds.
But they got to know it. Yeah.
Yeah. So one guy or girl to do that. And if you're doing medical, probably like a 40-year-old woman would be ideal for that. But, even like a teenager could still do this stuff. We train teenagers. And then a couple VAs. Just to, one is an operational VA, just to whatever project management system you use, onboarding. There's tools that will help with this, like getting access, OAuth to the Google Analytics, to the website, because there's you're going to have to make some minor changes to the website. You could run that through a Fiverr or Upwork.
I've got in-house for all that kind of stuff already.
Okay, good. And then you need the key one is you need a PPC VA. Yeah. I believe it should be a VA. Yeah. You can hire someone in America for $7 or $8 a month.
Yeah, and I've got a lot of.
But I find well then you have what you need.
Yeah, I agree with you that I'd rather go a VA route. I got plenty of guys that'll take me for a ride on running PPC on their own, but
right.
Yeah.
Well, if you have the operator, it's easy because you're dealing in it. This is not e-com where there's lots of factors and the creative and the product's different and there's competition. It's local is not very competitive unless it's in New York City or something. But aside from that, it's easy. It's easy to win.
What dashboard do you recommend housing on the agency side? Is there like agency analytics?
There's
or like that?
People use Agency Analytics or Report Garden or Data Studio, or if they're bigger, there's ones that are built into Salesforce, which is Tableau, or Google with the Tableau. But I'm just a big fan of simple charts because what happens. So the allure of a Report Garden is that there's this automated report that comes out every week or month, and it has your logo in the top, and it has all the charts. But the trouble is that that's not analytics. I know it's called agency analytics. I know Google Analytics is called Google Analytics. Now, I'm biased because I built the analytics at a search engine 25 years ago. There's no analytics in any of that. Those are report generators. You can use a report generator.
You built the what? 25 years ago?
I built the analytics at Yahoo.
Crazy, bro.
Yeah, that's a whole nother. I can open up that.
I know you said data. Are you data scientist? Background, type, that's where you came from? Yeah, we built one of the world's largest data systems, so big. We had 13 terabytes of log files per day, bigger than any database could handle. We had to build our own operating system. It was so big. Yeah, crazy. Back in 98. Yeah. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I retired 20 years ago.
Hey, good for you, man. Good for you.
Having
said all of that, then back to and I know we can run here. The philosophical side of am I wasting my time? Should I even be I shouldn't even be doing this, should I?
Well, wait. You thinking that there are third parties where you could just press a couple buttons and not have to do anything. It's easy money. That's a lie.
Yeah. Okay.
But the opportunity in local, is great because the competition, all the other guys doing SEO, PPC, these guys are so incompetent. They're
Yeah.
so it's like not even fair. It's like stomping on these little leaguers, right? It's like
Yeah.
you and I are LeBron James, and there's these 10-year-olds, and we're just dunking on them. Can you
Yeah.
win in that game? Yes, you can.
Yeah.
If
Because
you
the
follow
reality is
some
like
very, very basic execution.
you were saying like to do the math on this, like my net payroll's 50K. So like I've got to go, and my brain's only thinking in the hundreds of clients anyway, but
Right.
I got to go get 200 clients at what the white labelers call a 50% margin to like cover my payroll of my own in-house team in general. I'm only making a couple bucks, but my life is a little cooler because I'm just not fronting 600 grand a year in payroll just in general.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right now, that's
Right.
coming
Right.
out of my pocket with no
Right.
income anywhere.
Right.
So like that, my brain's doing that to where I'm like, should I just be focused on what I'm doing and then like, or is that more of it can be done, but going and getting 150 clients to 200 clients to make that kind of money to even then make it worth it for me. Like if I'm doing it, I'm like, oh, I'm making 20K a month. Sure, I'll take that all day. But that's not like change, you know what I mean? Like that's only moderately helping. Is the stress worth it? But I guess the way you're saying this is like you're cutting out a lot of the BS and stress by not doing what these guys tell you to do. The white label.
It'll scale. So if you do a local health agency, that can scale very easily.
Yeah.
If you maintain the quality of your staff and have better operators.
Yeah.
I get it because you're doing this as a cash flow balance.
Correct.
So
correct. That's the best way to put it.
But then there's an opportunity cost because there's lots of things that you could do.
Correct. Right? And that's where I go. I don't. One guy.
Local is almost retail. That's the way. That's the way to think about it.
Correct.
And you're not a public facing guy, so I'm telling you, in any agency, there's always going to be service failures. There's always going to be that client that came through that they're just a nightmare client. Now they want to talk to you or whoever it is. And then, or maybe you put someone in charge and they're the face of the thing, but then it gets escalated to you. So I'm just telling you that happens, right?
Yep.
Like, I don't know a single agency owner, like anyone who's like doing at least 10 million a year, that doesn't deal with this sort of thing every day, refunds and, oh, I came in, I looked at you bid on this keyword and you did this one thing. And then there's always something that someone's going to nitpick about, or there's service failures because your VA, someone like made a mistake because it was supposed to be, this page was supposed to be on Botox, but they used you copied some other client's page and it has their name instead of, just like stuff like that. You bid the thing at $50 a click instead of $20 a click, or,
That's what I said this morning to my developer. I was like, what I need to think about here is, when a Saturday comes along and 50 clients say something's wrong, just hypothetically speaking, I
love e-com because you do one business. You only have to watch that one business.
Yeah.
If you've got 100 clients, you kind of have 100 businesses.
Correct.
And you want to deal with that.
Do you know Aaron Nobish from Breeze, Nick Shackelford, those guys?
Yeah. We've run campaigns for Aaron for a long time.
Okay, yeah. So I talked to Aaron.
We got him started in the Facebook ads.
Yeah, I talked to Aaron last night for an hour, and he had Lucid, which I had a CBD. The business I sold was a CBD company, the last one, and Aaron ran the ads on those. And then obviously I was with him when he was starting Breeze, and was like, "Hey man, you should run Breeze with me." And I said, "I've got a non-compete with the public company I just sold to, so I can't do it." But I was the very first phone call. Nick came in after that, so it's been interesting to watch that. And I talked to him last night, and he was like, "Man, you need to go get involved in someone else's business that pays and that you're 10x the value." And then my same answer is the same as I'm not in the networks, dude. I'm not known enough to be in those networks to where sure, of course that sounds easy, but I don't go to the fly out events. I don't go to the networking masterminds. I don't do the agency groups. You
don't need to. You just need a couple podcasts. If you want to coach other e-com guys to be able to scale up and exit like you did, simply 1 or 2 podcasts would be enough to do it.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I totally get it. Going to the masterminds, meeting people in person, it's a different, I get it. I speak at those things too. But I found ever since COVID, all it takes is a couple podcasts.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
and then sense. You can run $1 a day, which is what I'm famous for on YouTube and Facebook and all that.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's funny, dude. I've seen your stuff for so long, and I don't remember when we became friends I'm sure I added you, and when your name started popping up, I'm like, oh, now this makes sense with this guy's
Yeah.
God. Like, you know, just it all, the dots connected for me. Like, oh, geez, of course.
Well, you're seeing the dirty laundry, which I don't really say. You can sort of hint at it behind the scenes, but now you
Yeah,
see
totally.
why.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes sense. And again, a lot of the guys in this space, it's their only thing. It's their first
Yeah.
thing. You know, it's a
Yeah.
totally different mindset of it, to where it's like, I'm not trying to get into a heavy lift of a business, you know? And to my discredit, like, yeah, I definitely got swept up in the very quick idea of like, wait a minute, you're using 51 blocks or agency elevation for 300 clients. I got a
I
buddy down
know.
the road from me right here who's got 650 detail shops in his business. That
Yeah.
he's got 650 detail shops, 5 million a year. He's got like 10
Yeah.
employees, and he crushes,
Yeah.
and it seems great.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so you see a couple of those, and you're like, man, is it really this? They're really servicing 650 people for you, and you're not doing any of it? That's crazy to me. That seems nuts. I got
And
one.
that's what draws them all in, Josh. All these 23-year-old bros come in thinking the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they don't.
Yeah,
But at least you know how to operate. You know,
well,
that's the
the
key.
thing is, like,
At least you have a team. That's the advantage you have.
yeah, I feel like the homework I did in 2 weeks, to your point, now I'm talking to some of the guys, and they're now asking me what I found. I'm like, guys, you've been doing this for a decade. You're making 5 million a year, and now you're telling me that the homework I did in 2 weeks is stuff you've never even heard about. I'm like, I've only been doing this for 2 weeks, but I've probably done more calls and more investigating in 2 weeks than you guys have done in 10 years. It's crazy to me.
That's ironic.
Yeah. Anyway, well,
I would love for you to, if you could nominate a young adult, I really, really like the idea of you putting someone, because you could, I know like the allure of passive income to be able to offset the cash burn for the next year. Totally. I mean, yes, all that you said, but it's not easy money. But if you can find a strong operator, it really hinges on, and I call that person an intrapreneur.
Yep.
Right.
Totally.
Because they still have to be loyal to you, but they have to have the killer instinct to be able to operate and do that. But if you do that, I think that will give you what you want. But it's so hard. You have to kiss a lot of frogs to find the prince, you know?
Yeah.
But if you have that, you can make it work in health for sure, because your network, because that's a great category. Yeah. You could really make it work in any LSA category, I would advise. I wouldn't venture in local. I wouldn't venture outside of LSA.
That makes sense, which is interesting because I believe you, and that makes sense to me. And when I was talking to other guys about if they nobody runs LSAs. Every one of these guys, none of them will run LSAs. And they're like, oh, we don't think it's worth the squeeze because we're doing this instead. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me as an e-com entrepreneur, just for what I know about my own SEO. But like, I guess.
Well, you understand what LSA is and why Google has an incentive to basically make LSA hands-free and part of GMB, right?
The whole point. I would only guess the obviousness is you're showing much more relative content faster outside of the map. I mean, right? Like it's the next closest thing to the sun, so to speak, in terms of the content.
Well, yeah, and it's above the map results and it's position 0. It's above the ads and all this other stuff. So yes, that's true. But the bigger strategic piece is if you're Google, think about what your pain point is, your frustration is. It's all these PPC people. It's all the people that are screwing up websites, all these SEO parasites, all these guys who are middlemen. What?
They gated it. Like they figured out how to rebuild pay-per-click, but with a gate in front of it almost.
Right. They're trying to make it so that these business owners can succeed without all the parasites distracting people and lying to them and screwing things up. And so the way to think about LSA, and we've known this the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, I've written articles and courses and whatever for years on LSA. And I even said this years ago. You can look it up and see I said this. It wasn't just now. I said, if you have a strong Google My Business, which is called Google Business Profile, good reviews, your team does good stuff. I mean, there's good signals that show you actually operate the business well, not because you're like hounding them for reviews or stuff like that.
Yep.
Then you naturally should win. And the whole and I've had many meetings at Google and at Facebook about this. Well, advertising in Google and Facebook should basically pull from everything about that and automatically create the ads and bids and campaign structures and subcategories of what you offer and what you don't offer and when you're open and what areas you serve and how much you should pay. And that's I mean, like with Facebook ads, it's increasingly based on what your competitors are doing. They're using that data, all that. So it's made so that small business isn't held hostage by the agency, but the agencies resist because they want to say, oh, it's a complicated thing, and that auto repair place, or they shouldn't try to touch, they might, cut their fingers or something by touching the thing, and it's too complicated for you, the website and all this code, and well, AI, of course, is making that easy now, right? So LSA is growing to the point where it will be the dominant, at least for Google, the dominant way for local services to be able to build stuff. And of course, you have all the different kinds of search features, you have the extensions, you have the more sophisticated things where you're making videos and, lead ads. And yes, those are all an extension of the core of LSA. LSA is built upon it's automatic. The ads are made automatically. There's no like headline, copy, choose an image, call to action, button. There's like none of that, right? Because it's based on your actual performance. So we advise, and you should do this if you have some young adult or whatever in charge of this agency. Don't take on anyone that has bad reviews, because their LSA is not going to work. If they actually have evidence, they actually take good care, they care for their customers, they're good people, they're not assholes, then LSA is going to crush it for them. And then you get to take all the credit. And then that good people refer other good people.
And those are all like straight click to calls too, aren't they?
Yeah. And so the call tracking is there. You don't even have, we still recommend having a call rail, because then, you come in and listen to the calls and see, oh, our people answer the phone right away. No, they don't. Oh, our people are always really good about selling, and like, no, your people are kind of rude and lackadaisical, and put them on hold forever. And that way there's some level of accountability, right? Because even the business owner is going to think, oh no, my front desk is great. Are you sure? Did you go click on the last 10 calls and see what you think?
Yeah.
Because it costs us $70 for each of those calls.
Yeah.
You just pissed away, 5 of those calls you didn't answer. Now Google's not going to give us more because Google won't give you more calls if you don't answer the call, right?
Gee. Yeah.
So then you need the account manager or whoever to come in and say, hey, Sally, we looked at the stuff. You missed 3 of the last 10 calls. This is really important because Google's not going to keep giving us calls. Can we make sure that Jennifer's answering the phone? Or, that's where you need the person there, not to tune the campaigns, but to like, coach the client, if you will. It's really more coaching, because the AI and optimization is done by all kinds of software and things like that.
No, that makes perfect sense.
It's not about the sophistication of PPC. It's not because, there's this white label company and they have 5,000 clients, and, they specialize in PPC, and they white label the websites, and they white label all this for the agency. So I'll just throw it over them because they have so many. And that's the lie they tell, but they're just cranking out freaking hamburgers. They're terrible. There's like no meat in these hamburgers. It's so bad.
It's crazy how like big they are, though.
Yeah, I know. It's like, how can it even be?
It's crazy how, the handful of buddies I have that I learned, like I've known for a while, but I didn't know they did this industry. It's like, and again, you get it in our space. Like half of my Facebook is agency guys I've never met before that I don't really know what their agency is. But now that I've learned it, I'm like, oh, you guys all do local services, and you use.
Josh, we can prove it. You can choose any client of any of these white labeled, or the agent, or your whatever, and transmission repair.
Run an audit yourself on their stuff.
We can do an audit right now in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You choose the site. I will show you the data right now. That easy.
I wouldn't even know. I would only take my buddy Chris, who's
all right. Let's go. Let's look at his stuff real quick, right?
His thing is Detailer's Roadmap is his agency. He's the one that's right down the road. So here's the funny part is, so he had me and you were already friends on Facebook. Again, I don't know when that happened, but it's been a while. I've been seeing him for a while.
Sure.
I'm in my buddy Chris's office, who owns Detailer Roadmap, and
this guy.
He's showing me some like slides that he had in his office, and one of his slides, like randomly on the side of the slide, like in a chicken scratch, was your name, literally randomly. And I said, hey, do you know Dennis? And he was like, oh, I was just taking a note like earlier, and someone mentioned his name. I'm like, I don't know that guy, but I'm friends with that guy on Facebook. Like, he's a big marketing guy. And he was like, oh yeah, somebody told me to go like look or do whatever. And I'm like, yeah, what does he have to do with your local service business? Like, what does he got to do with this? And he was like, yeah, again, someone told me to mention. So that puts you on my radar, like in like the setting of local business. Then when you came for me again later, I was like, okay, this has got to be Dennis's environment. But you know, like that sitting in Chris's room, he's like, we use 51 blocks. I've used the Hoff. I use these guys.
Right. Don't do that.
650 clients.
I know. But that's what they all say, Josh. They all say that. People. How can it be bad when everyone else is doing that?
Right? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Look, let me show you something here, and I'm not trying to pick on your buddy. I don't even know who this guy is.
Hey, okay? I'm so kind of biased with marketing stuff. Okay. You know, like.
Yeah, I'm not trying to sell you anything. You already paid me.
Yeah, correct. So yeah, I'm with you in the sense that I know you're not trying to sell me anything, and I'm kind of open to all of this anyway. I don't.
All right.
No.
All right. So check this out. So detailers.
I don't know if he's got client links on here or not, but
he does. I'm going to show you. Okay. So this is his site, right?
Yep.
And I look immediately, and people look obsess. You use the different SEO tools, and you know like what these metrics mean and all this, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So when I see an agency that has a really high DR and not many keywords and not much traffic, it's usually because they have a bunch of parasitic links because all the sites they've built, they've put a site-wide footer link. And that's exactly what's occurred here.
Okay, yep.
Right. So that did used to work. But in the last year or two, Google's like, nah. You know, even if it's a do follow. And so we could look at choose any one of these. I don't care.
You're pulling all their referring domains from their footer links. Yeah, I got you.
That's right. Everyone. So you should, if there's many, this is a big no if you build websites to put your thing there saying built by us. You know, don't do that. And then there's 301s here, which is a mistake because it only passes partial juice. Anyway, like you shouldn't do it for many reasons, right? But choose any one of these clients of his.
Whatever. Chicago Auto Pros.
All right, this guy here. This one's bigger than some of these other ones.
I was going to say, I don't know if that's a good example because it's Chicago. You can pick one of the other ones.
Let's do this one. This Buff X customization, or this one, detail and restore. Let's do this one. Kennesaw, Georgia's leading paintless dent repair service center. Okay. Next level detailing. And as far as a detailer would look at this, they'd say like, okay, it looks like a nice website. I mean, how else would they know? It's looking at the paint job on the car, to use the analogy, right? And then it's built by them. There's a link here. 8-bit creative. Okay. So does this thing rank on anything? Well, actually it does. It does. What do they rank on? Dent repair near me. Okay. 9,300 people. They get some of that. They're getting the near me's. Wow. That's good. This one's actually good. This happens like 5% of the time. This actually is good. Dent removal, Kennesaw. Yeah. That's a geovertical term. Now look at the keyword difficulty here. They're all easy. They're all green, right? Yeah. They're all green. That's why local services, like e-com, it's difficult because it's not a geovertical. The geovertical, because you only have to win in that city, is so easy. Yeah, he's dominating all the near me's, and he's actually getting a lot of the SERP features. That's not bad. That's good. See, that's good. This is good. Wow. Okay. And we could run another report too to see but I can already tell the results are going to be pretty good. That's good. So. All right, let's look at this up with Chicago.
He's using 51 blocks.
Okay, but it also could be their GMB too. So we could see. Wow, this one's actually really good too. Wow, but they've lost a lot. Wow, they went from 9,000 down to they've dropped by 2/3. So I'm always worried about Hoth and 51 blocks because it'll work for a while, but a lot of this like VA generated stuff, AI generated stuff will get you in trouble. Okay. And plus their name is Chicago Auto Pros, which is sort of a generic name. Let's see if it's being carried by their GMB. They're in Glenview. Okay. So their GMB is strong. They've got a lot in social. Wow. I think a lot of this is actually coming from their GMB and their social. I wonder how much is actually.
Yeah, that's where you're saying it's like if they don't know stuff, it's like
because I think it's spillover. I think that most of their stuff is actually spillover from actually having reputation and reviews.
Yeah.
All right, so let's look at the pages to see whether that's the case. Okay, this is moderate. All right, so I'm not unexpected. The homepage is the one that drives most of the traffic, right?
Yeah.
And then they have all these other ones: vinyl color, tinting, dent repair. They get some traffic off of it, paintless dent repair. So they probably use 51 blocks and these other guys to generate these pages, right? They have 100 pages, 117 pages. That's good. We'd like to see over 100, right? So let's just choose one of the, paintless dent repair, okay? And let's see the quality of this page. Corrective paintless dent repair located in Chicago. Okay. They have a picture. They describe the service, very basic. Okay. So all right. So they're answering the PAA and the FAQ, but there's nothing here about Chicago or about there's no real experience being shown here unless these are their actual images. I'm wondering if it is. Is it? Is it theirs? Is this theirs? Reverse image search on this one. Looks like it might actually be theirs. Okay, so this page ranks. Why does it rank? It's an okay written page. Let's see where are the links coming from? Are they building links? All right, this is what they're doing. So they're building some links on a low competition terms. This actually is working. Paintless dent repair Chicago. What is that, like a 4? It's a 5. All right, so what they have is easy enough to rank on. And of course the forums.
I imagine what's, the competition of detailers.
Yeah. I mean, who's trying to rank on paintless dent repair Chicago? I mean, come on, right? So they're winning just because they have a page on that and they built a couple links. That's what's going on, right? So yeah, this is working. I just feel like it's such a paper mache sort of thing. These things fall apart all the time, and you can see it's been falling apart. Well, no, these guys are going up and down, but maybe this is seasonal. Hard to say. These other guys.
He got offered 26 mil. And he turned it down. As someone who has taken 26 mil before I got done. You
can also take a piece of it. You can sell, 15% per year. Take a little money off the table. You don't have to do not all or nothing,
Yeah.
But yeah, these guys overall, Detailers Roadmap, they have fallen a lot. And of course, they don't need to rely upon the SEO. The funny thing is, like, guys that sell SEO or whatever, they themselves don't need to have SEO because they have salespeople. They exhibit at the conferences that all the detailers go to and whatever. But yeah, I mean, these look decent. It's just that's the thing, Josh. You don't have to do a very good job to win. I think that's the main thing you're realizing.
Correct.
Yeah.
But
maybe I'm a perfectionist and I'm giving you bad advice because I just feel like this, they're doing such a shit job that even a D is good enough, No, none of those pages were very good.
This is why, again, it's, $1,500 is what it is. But it's like, this is why I wanted to come to get these answers of like, there's two sides of this coin. Can you make a decent sized agency and have an operator and like, will it work and do well? Sure. Of course it will.
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily like, I'm in the one step above that of like, all right, how much energy, do I really want to put into what is needed? But the points you're making are exactly right of like, if you were to do it, this is the best way to do. Pick a category, run this type of offer. That's what it needs to be. That's valuable to me and how to think about it. But then
if you pick an operator, Josh, that can shield you from all the nonsense.
Correct. Because again, it's like there's nothing that's going to do better than the e-com biz in my personal life. That's always going to be my Trojan horse.
Right.
But we did and I'll sign you off on this. I'll show you like the dumb but this is like, this could be total I wasted my time on this, or where is it right here? This is like how far I took this stuff already. Like, and this is just,
I would love to play with your software. I mean, I would love to beat all these other players out there because I think even the software, except for like, the really big players, I think everyone sucks in this space. Yeah.
Like that's the stuff that I have on my side is like, I'm good at all this. Like I can put up a brand and I thought the brand was decent and we can put up brand and we can put up assets and we can come up with the stories and we can come up with, what I think would sell. But then it comes down to the important side of like, okay, what is it, what does it really take to do this? And, we did all this in a matter of, and I'll show you
you could build it, but when you build marketing software, the big challenge is actually education and having figureheads that educate. It's not the features of the software. That's why the Mannix of the world can sell. His software is shit, but he's doing a lot of like webinars and promoting and all that.
Yeah, this is.
We have a lot of tree service companies.
Yeah, so this is like this is the Ford F-150 software that we've been doing for like a year and a half. This guy.
I would love to use it. We've been building our own. I'd rather not.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a year now and it's working. Okay. I mean, this guy has been around 50 years, has never done anything in his life. And you can tell me if it's, you can score it, this is the site that I've been testing with it. This entire site is this software, the entire thing.
Okay.
Nothing else. No pay-per-click, no ads, just this content and the on-page optimization tool from here. So I can go inside of here, auto-optimize, create my keyword map, and basically tell it changes, and it'll do it. And it's been a year and nothing's broken. Nothing's messed up. It's worked. There's been nothing else. And he ranks with very little reviews and, very little.
Is it driving calls? Can you tell how many jobs he's getting?
Because I know, I did this just as a test. That particular guy has like zero tracking of anything. He definitely says he's got work more than he did, but he's not tracking it. I've kind of been more just playing with it to see the software work. On the technical side.
I would love to play with it and then connect in their Google business profile and all that. If you integrate that here, then you have this killer combo.
Yeah, agreed. And that's kind of been the part of it is like, hey, I can, there's value to these pieces, but I didn't know. This is what started it for me, is that we were working on this a year and a half ago. And it worked, and it kept working. And then I did Search Atlas, and it broke everything. Then I went back to this, and it worked again. This thing worked.
What? You could sell. I mean, I don't know. I'd love to play with it, but if this thing checks out, you could. I know there's thousands of agencies that follow me, Josh. I mean, we can even rev share on this thing and promote it, because I'm as you know, I'm known in the agency space. And if you have
interest in it, then let's do it. I'm down.
Give me a login and for a couple of my guys, and just let us come in and play, and we'll give you some feedback. And if it's good, let's see. If we like it, I would love to co-promote it with you, because we've been building some of our own stuff. I don't want to build. I build stuff only because we have to. I'm an engineer, but I don't want to build stuff. It's such a pain in the ass.
Yeah. So the dev team on this is straight SEO guys.
Okay.
That I've known for a while. So they're very technical. And my side of it is that they're just not they're business guys, but they're way more technical than they are business.
Yeah. So you want that. It's a separate marketing team.
Yeah.
It's very rare you get a Rand Fishkin who can talk the technical, but also is, good on camera and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's our current thing is we, my side of it with him is hey guys, I can, we've been talking about operations and this, where it's let's make this look like this, you know what I mean? That's kind of where the conversations have been at of we got to get kind of the UX UI caught up, but optimization and content and content is coming from Webmaster and Search Console, and it's doing it right.
Right.
When you see the,
I'm more interested in what you're doing here than spinning up a local agency.
Okay, well that's interesting, and I'll definitely.
I mean, you can do both, but I'm personally, I'm very interested in playing with this tool.
Yeah, all of this is from the software, and it's been working. And it's you can go look at this site, and you can tell me, but it's putting tables in, it's not breaking the site, and it's been a year. I've been doing this for a year now. So anyway, well, let's do that. Okay. I'll get you access. You play around all you want.
Okay.
And tell me if there's something there. Yeah. That you think is worthwhile, then I would say, heck yeah. Then I don't have to start an agency. We can go build this.
All right.
Cool.
All right.
Then I'll do that. What's the best? What's your email? What's the best email? I'll get you stuff.
Just Dennis@blitzmetrics.com. Very easy. You should. Did I not email you before? I'll put it in our Facebook chat thing too.
Yeah, I might have it on the calendar thing. All right. Well, then I'll do that. I've got to run out of the office, but I'll get it to you by the end of the night tonight.
Awesome. You rock, Josh. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you, Dennis, man. Thank you so much. This was very valuable to me.
Awesome. Glad you got value.
All right. We'll talk to you.
Talk soon.
I'll shoot you later tonight.
All right. Sounds good.